welcome into a cozy episode. This is episode 29 of Two Girls Chirping. I'm Lauren.
I'm Abby.
And I hope you have your swats and a little bev of your choice, maybe a little snack or two. We just downed a pizza, so we're set on
Absolutely.
the snacks.
Yeah.
What are we talking about today?
Well, we're talking about Clink Malarchuk, specifically his book, A Matter of Inches.
Welcome to book club.
Yeah, welcome to book club. I'm ready. I guess I'll go ahead and give a trigger warning.
Yeah.
There is mention of like thoughts of suicide, attempted suicide. There's some pretty gruesome stuff that happened to him. He talks a lot about mental illness and him overcoming it. But if you're sensitive to that kind of stuff, obviously, here's your heads up. Here's your heads up too, Lauren. We knew the story because we talked about him a bit when we talked about the Buffalo Sabres.
Do you want me to tell you what I know?
Yeah, you tell me what you know.
He was a good player, got a head injury, like a really, really bad one. Should have died, didn't die, struggle with mental health. And then this is what I hate because I feel like I wouldn't want to be remembered for my lowest moment. But when I think of him, I'm like, oh, that didn't he try and kill himself? And then like basically devote the rest of his life, something like that, to like mental health resources and spreading awareness for the league. That's what I know. That's what I suspect. That's what I recall.
Take that head injury and swap it out for his carotid artery was sliced by a skate blade.
Oh.
And yeah. But this
I thought he was the one that had a bunch of concussions.
No.
Sorry, Clint. I learned a lot of names this season, okay? I'm about to learn all about you, though.
That's not to say he didn't have a bunch of concussions. Mm-hmm. But that's not like the big accident that everybody thinks of when they think of him. And he does actually talk about how that's how he will be remembered forever.
Oh, that's so sad.
Which is sad, but he kind of makes his peace with it. This book, I really did think that we were going to get into it with him getting into the NHL, the accident, and then him overcoming it. And that be it. I had no idea what I was getting into with this because honestly, I fully recommend giving it a read. I'm going to spoil pretty much the entire book. So
all the spoilers
if
are
you're
ahead.
Wanting to read it, get like and subscribe, but maybe don't watch.
Welcome to our audiobook.
Welcome to our audiobook. I have a lot to talk about, so we can get into it. The prologue, gagged. I think, okay, so I started this book in a hair salon getting my hair done because I was like, oh, a little light reading while my hair gets bleached. No, it opens up with him drunk, sitting out on his ranch, and his wife coming home and him shooting himself in front of her.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So I was like, oh,
trauma.
We are really getting into this.
This is not a funny haha.
No, not at all. And I didn't even know fully what I was getting into. So I have some quotes, and then I have some main bullet points that I want to talk about.
That wife is stronger than me.
Yeah. Clink Malarchuk. Gosh, I in my thoughts and prayers for eternity. You're a good woman. He did have kind of a co-writer on this book, which makes sense because I was reading it and some of these quotes, I was like, did he have a ghostwriter? Because it's good. But Dan Robson works with, he's an executive writer for The Atlantic, the sports edition. So it makes sense that he assisted in writing this.
You won't see this, but we had to swap places because I couldn't get comfortable with my position.
One of the great quotes, for instance, I don't know, I really loved, God, I can't talk about how much I loved this book. In chapter 1, the only note I really have is him just talking about, most people know me for having my carotid arteries sliced and watching me bleed out on ice, but...
Well, I knew him for mental health awareness, so...
Period. Honestly, slay. But, like, this is me before and after. Like, this is me as a person, not just me as an accident, essentially. And he says mental illness isn't something people like to discuss, especially not in professional sports.
Facts.
Where the only wounds that matter are physical. The rest is just weakness.
Ooh.
And oh my god.
Dang, that did not have to hit that hard.
Yeah.
Where the only wounds that matter are physical and the rest is a weakness. Because yes,
especially
they had
back
a
then.
lot to say about William Nylander even this past season.
Yeah.
When he needed to step away for like a couple games at the Stanley Cup Finals. And they had a lot to say about that player that had all the concussions and left the sport for like a whole year.
Patrick Laine. They had a lot to say about Patrick Laine.
They had a lot to say about him. But, like, what do you want him to do?
Yeah.
It's real. It's valid.
Yeah. And now there's, like, the Players Association, which was technically around back then, but this was also the 80s and the 90s, and
we just didn't know enough.
We didn't. I think that we're in a better place now, but I think that there's a lot of room for improvement, and
I think it...
Yeah.
I'm going to do a hot take. I think it still labels them as weak.
Mm-hmm.
If you speak out about it 100%.
Yeah, but I do think that they're more outspoken about it now.
Yeah. I hope that they continue to evolve. It's just irresponsible. Do you want me to hold that, darling?
Can you?
Yes.
I
can.
don't know what to do here.
As long as nobody moves, this drink will be fine.
Yeah. Okay, so...
Oh, it's raining.
Yes, also, we're in the middle of a big storm right now.
Don't worry, our tornado helmets are downstairs, and no, I'm not kidding.
We're tornado
we
conscious.
We respect the polygon.
We do respect the polygon.
Know James Spann and are local to Alabama, which is no one except us.
James Spann...
The man he is. Anyways, let's talk about the man
sweetheart.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know how. I'm going to have to leave the state when he dies, which is already on the planner.
Yeah. So I would say the first half of the book was him growing up.
Tell me
about it. So we see a lot about his relationship with his dad. His dad played like junior hockey and stuff, and is really who got Clint into hockey and would take him to all his games, all of his practices, pushed him to be his best. And he points out a lot of things that were red flags in his dad as a kid, but that he never really processed as red flags until he got older and saw the consequences of all of his other actions. Mm-hmm. All that to be said,
that's so real.
Yeah, no, it's so real. He grew up in Edmonton. He's just talking about all these good memories of his dad, them going and playing baseball in the summers, and his dad there being an outdoor rink in the neighborhood that they would go and play at all the time. And he just points out that his dad was not a good husband and not even necessarily a good man, but him being able to look back on his childhood and have a lot of good memories of his dad being a good parent, at least to him. Now, he was the youngest, and both of his siblings were a lot older than him, like 10 years older than him. And so he got to have a relationship with his parents that they didn't necessarily get to have because they were older when things started going down.
Did that hit home for you?
Yeah, I said felt. Yeah, and he talks about his siblings saw the worst of it, but had processed and moved on before he started to fully understand it. So then he was kind of on his own to process everything. I said felt again.
Well, I mean, good for them for even processing it. It's so much easier to just continue the generational trauma.
Yeah.
Instead of recognize the patterns of behavior and actively work to fix them.
And he, even later on in his life, his dad was an alcoholic. Ooh. And not necessarily physically abusive to his mom, but definitely emotionally, definitely verbally, and violent as well. And even as he gets older and he also becomes a bit of an alcoholic, and he gets like aggressive and he doesn't like really understand, he in his mind, like in his subconscious, is still like, this is what my dad was like, I can't be like him.
Well,
and so it's just like a battle.
Do you think it's because his dad didn't teach him how to emote properly?
Yeah, I do. He says, there wasn't a specific moment where things crumbled. I guess it was always kind of chipping away. You hold on to the happy pieces and try your best to leave the worst in the rubble, but the dust of it still clings to you.
God, that hits. Wait, the call is coming from inside the house.
Yeah.
Oh.
And there's this scene that he depicts of one of the last times that he saw his dad as he was a kid, when his dad was really drunk, got very aggressive, and it got to a point where his dad broke all the windows in the house.
Oof.
And the cops were called. His dad was taken away. And the next day, he just went to school and pretended like everything was normal because they never discussed it.
That's so Southern of them.
That is so Southern of them.
The epitome of Southern culture.
Yeah.
Are they Southern?
No, they're from Edmonton.
Southern Canada, maybe? I don't know.
And then that is really the focus of chapters 2 and 3. Chapter 4's focus is on the signs of undiagnosed OCD and anxiety as a kid.
Is this book about me? Rue,
when was this? Is this fucking play about us? Not us quoting in sync. No, actually, there were so many.
Actually, is this book about me?
No, because the way that this book
parent
reflects so much on how we were kids is crazy to me.
We did not have physically abusive parents.
No, we did not.
We had your typical
they're good people.
They have evolved dramatically.
Yeah.
They have evolved dramatically.
Yeah.
It was your run-of-the-mill 90s household.
Mm-hmm.
Plenty of issues.
Yeah. But, like, we love them and we have a good
skills.
relationship.
I'm sure.
But he also grew up, like, going to a ranch and riding courses and going to rodeos and all that stuff, and we did too.
Yeah.
And so it just filled my heart with a little bit of joy, but also, like, wow, you... Are you me? Is this an autobiography of myself? Did I write this? So he started showing signs of OCD as a young child in elementary school, actually. He talks about he would act out a lot, of course, to kind of distract from what was going on at home. And he thought that if he seemed outspoken and happy and go lucky and all of that, that nobody would see what was going on underneath and at home, which it makes me think about how you've said it all the time. Anytime somebody's too happy, you're like, nobody's that happy all the time.
No,
like
it's
there's
not normal.
something. It's not normal to be that happy all the time.
You're masking. What are you masking?
Yeah, and he was masking.
You don't have to tell. I mean, like, you don't have to tell. It's none of my business.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
you need to have people that you are actually telling stuff to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's not real.
But he also talks about just feeling so uncomfortable at school, like talking about the gum under desks and stuff.
Dude, don't get me started.
And his mom even came to school early one day to scrape all the gum off of the underside of his desk and Lysol everything for him.
Oh.
And then he had a thing of Lysol with him that he would use on his desk every day.
Yeah, I used to use hand sanitizer and Kleenex.
Me too. And he talks about how his stomach was just in shambles on his Sunday night, knowing he had to go back to school the next day. He never, like, said, oh, that's anxiety. No, that was anxiety, though. He never processed it as that. And this is a common theme, even as a kid.
Well, you don't know that. You only know what you're taught. And if your parents don't know or recognize those signs and what that means, then you're really just on your own.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't know
Yeah.
until we were much older about anxiety and all kinds of stuff and what that looked like and social anxiety. And for me, there's debate on if I've got some OCD. Signs point to yes. Heavily. Glaringly.
So he talks about how hockey is the only place he didn't feel anxious.
Yeah.
Was it playing with, like, his brothers and all of that. And that's important to note because even as he gets older, the anxiety never goes away for him. And so it's always like, oh, it can't be hockey because that's a place I've always felt safe. Mm-hmm. So it must be this, that, and the other. When in reality, it probably was hockey for a good bit of his older life.
Oof.
Yeah. He also talks about, okay, really important to note.
Noted.
Kelly Harudi played for the LA Kings. They grew up together. His first child is named after Kelly. It's spelled differently, but he does say it's named after Kelly.
Stop.
And
Stop. That's so cute.
Yeah, and they stayed in contact for a long time. I think.
Wait,
they still
is this the
probably
guy
are.
that you yesterday were trying to find something about, and you're watching some interview, and you're
yes,
like, that's a picture of him and Clint right next to him
in
and
the
his
background.
wife.
Said they're besties.
Oh, that's so cute. I love to see it. I love to see it.
He tells a story. He says,
like, I love to see Nathan McKinnon and Sidney Crosby. Anything they do together, I'm just like...
he just, like, glazes over a story about one time they got in an argument during a game. They played on the same team, and he punched him in the face. And he goes, I don't know, it probably happened. I've punched a lot of people.
Facts.
Men are crazy. Because why is that your best friend?
I mean, do you remember every fight you've ever gotten into with your best friend?
Yeah.
Oh. You remember every single word you said?
No, but I remember the premise of most of them.
Okay. Never mind.
Yeah, that's chapter 4 is all of that. Also, he talks about the whole reason he picked the position of goalie is because their outdoor rinks in their neighborhood, you could only be out there for a certain amount of time playing wise, like, because they changed lines all the time and he was playing against older kids. But if he played a goalie, he got to be out there the whole time. And so that's why he picked that position.
That's a very high pressure position.
Yeah. It's insane. So chapter 5, he's in 5th grade and his mom takes him to a doctor for all the stomach problems that he's been having. That's really anxiety, but
God, I wish my mom had taken me to a stomach doctor for all the anxiety related issues I had.
Well, here's what happens. He ends up telling the doctor a story of when he was so anxious and so overwhelmed and just unable to, like, function, he pressed a kitchen knife to his stomach just enough to draw blood and feel pain.
Babes, that's called cutting.
Yeah, the doctor actually had him admitted to the hospital for 2 months.
Yep. Yeah.
For supervision.
Mm-hmm.
Not once in that 2 months did they have him see a psychiatrist.
What the
Not once.
Fuck. What'd they do? Arts and crafts?
Yes.
Did they really?
He got to leave to go play hockey because that's the only thing that made him happy. And so they would let him go play hockey and then he'd have to go back to the hospital for 2 months.
Dude.
He never saw a psychiatrist. Yep.
What?
Yep.
That's some bullshit.
And he says that his time in the hospital didn't change a single thing for him.
Yeah, you're not getting any help.
No. Yeah. The next chapter, chapter 6, he's around 13 years old. His dad's not really in his life, but he is still around. I think him and his mom...
Where's his dad?
I think him and his mom had gotten back together for a bit, but, like, weren't really, but kind of were, because he was still paying for all the bills for the house and stuff.
Yeah.
So this was kind of the last point where he was like, you know what, screw my dad. His dad started having an affair with one of his teammates' moms.
Oh, hell no.
I read this one scene that pissed me the fuck off. Like, disrespectfully. He goes to his friend's house and he's like, oh, like, can so-and-so come out? We can run around the neighborhood, whatever. The mom says, you're nothing but a punk and your mother's a slut. I don't want you around here.
What the fuck? Who do you think you're talking to?
All caps. What the fuck? How are his dad and mistress the victims here?
I'm sorry. How is the mom the slut?
I don't know.
Please expand. What do you define as a slut?
I don't know.
Let's
that
dive
is
into that.
insane to me.
I'm a punk. Well, you're dating my dad, who you know is married. So who's the real punk around here?
Literally.
What a fucking bitch.
Literally. How is that a 13-year-old and his mother's fault?
I hate to call a woman a bitch, but what a bitch.
Yeah, I agree.
Dude, I hope she got what she deserved.
Me too.
But adults really did say some wild stuff to kids. Like, ma'am, my frontal lobe is
not fully developed.
Not there. I haven't even hit puberty yet. And why are you trying to treat me like I'm...
Yeah.
What are you
Literally.
doing? What are you doing?
Literally. So...
Seek help.
His mother's maiden name was actually Henning.
Cute.
And he changed the name on his jersey to Henning for, I believe, the rest of that season.
Yes.
Just, like, in solidarity. And he talks about, he's like, it's kind of a bold move for a 13-year-old to make.
That's kind of like when when Lucas wouldn't wear Scott on the back of his jersey because he didn't want to be associated with Dan, who is a fucking
lunatic
loser on One Tree
Yeah.
Hill.
Yeah.
And then Keith was like, that name is my last name. And he was like, you know what, hell yeah. And then he wore
Oh,
Scott
yeah.
after that.
I forgot that's why I started wearing Scott again.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing with Clint, he says that he had already kind of made a name for himself under Malarchuk, and so he ended up changing it back, but the principle's the same. And I honestly love
Big F you to the dad.
Big
F you to
you.
his friend's mom.
Also,
what a bitch.
Just overall in this chapter, the way that he and his mom took care of each other, because from this point on, the dad was no longer in their life. The mom was working insane jobs to get enough money to pay the bills.
He wasn't financially contributing anymore?
Nope. Clint, yeah, literally. Clint was like very much cooking at dinner for the mom, like taking care of things around the house. He talks about how clean he was, and then he's so like,
relatable.
Probably because of the OCD that I'd later be diagnosed with, but they just very much took care of each other. They ended up selling the majority of their furniture to make ends meet too. It was just because his sister had been married at this point, and his older brother Garth, who I'll talk about a lot more, had left to play junior hockey.
Good for him.
Yeah. So his brother was actually drafted by the Capitals, but never made an NHL debut. He played in the WHA and the IHL, and then became a cop in Calgary. And then, which comes in handy for Clint.
So much.
Comes in handy for Clint quite soon, you'll see.
No.
And then after being a cop, he actually became a scout for the NHL. So.
Dude, if I ever have kids, I hope they never feel like they have to take care of me.
Yeah.
That is.
He also tells a story of when he was 10. Bobby Orr had I don't know what the name of it is, like a competition with Loney's chocolate bars called Save and Score, and it was just like a code on the inside of a wrapper you could enter, and you could win a week at Bobby Orr's training camp and all new equipment. And he talks about how he would collect wrappers from the trash bins at his brother's hockey games and collected over 2,500 and won it. And they flew him out so he could be a part of that. And the whole time he was so homesick.
I may or may not have. This was back in the day, okay?
Okay.
Don't charge me for this. I may or may not have gone into Walmart and peeled. They used to have like a stars reward where every single bag of coffee you could redeem the code, and if you got enough points, which at the time it was like very few, it was very achievable. It wasn't like 200 like it is now. You
for
could get
Starbucks.
a free drink.
And
anyways, I may or may not have used to peel those stickers off and redeem it so I could go get like a free Starbucks. True. Now
I'd do it again.
I wouldn't, because now it's a crime and I'd hate to be a criminal.
I'm actually a law-abiding citizen. I always have been, always will be.
Allegedly, I might have done
Allegedly.
I also was doing all the grocery shopping for the family amongst a billion other chores, so.
Yeah, you really were.
Yeah, I know.
You did so much.
Yeah,
I was just vibing. I was left home alone a lot.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, no, it's fine. That was actually ideal. Okay, chapter 7. It's so interesting, especially knowing a lot of hockey history now. Mm-hmm. He talks about goalies transitioning from standing to the butterfly position that they're in now, and how it was like not even heard of in his whole goalie career up until really this point.
What is the butterfly position? Is that where
when
they
they're
get
down?
On their knees?
When they're
like
down,
little,
yeah.
like,
yeah.
Thing?
They used to just stand and like.
You'd have to like.
Yeah.
Nar. One of us took Spanish.
I took Spanish. My teacher was out on maternity leave literally the entire year.
The only reason you were able to pass that course.
Truly. Also, confirmed my suspicion about goalies. Their bodies aren't meant to do that.
No. Was he double jointed?
No.
I don't know how they do
I don't know how they do it either, but
no
he
idea.
says he's talking about the butterfly position. He goes, I never fully overhauled my game to suit the new era of goaltending. I wish I had, but I didn't have the knees for it. They were always bad. You won't see many former goalies who don't grimace when they stand up. Your knees aren't supposed to twist the ways that goalies contort themselves. We usually carry that pain as penance for the rest of, or as penance when our careers are done, which tracks.
Yeah, I mean, I figured that.
Yeah, at 17, he tore cartilage in his knee.
Yeah.
He didn't know, so he continued to play, and then after playoffs, Garth, his brother, actually got him in with a specialist who performed surgery. Afterwards...
How did they afford that?
Garth.
Thank you,
Garth. Literally. Garth has, like, saved his career so many freaking times.
Thank you, Garth.
It's insane. But here's the thing. After surgery, his knee kept swelling and he had fever and chills.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it developed into a staph infection.
No.
Antibiotics were not working, and the infection spread to the bone. He was in an isolated, sterilized room.
He had osteomyelitis?
Yes.
That is a son of a gun.
Yeah. After about 2 months after surgery, they decided to try to scrape the infection off of the bone.
They didn't try that before?
And if that didn't work, they would take his leg.
No. Mm-mm.
Yeah. Regardless of the outcome, they said he would never be able to play goaltender again. He said, I bet. In update, they ended up trying a new antibiotic that worked. He did indeed play goalie again. And he actually says the following season he played the best hockey of his life.
Crazy how that can happen.
Insane. I have in all caps here. Read how he ends the chapter.
Let's see.
Oh, I know how this ends, actually. He's talking about people are getting drafted because he's like 18 now.
Yeah.
So it's his draft year. At the end of the year, the Vancouver Canucks drafted Darrell, who was one of his teammates. I wasn't drafted at all. My numbers were decent, and people had thought I would go that year. I was devastated, totally devastated. But there were bigger things to worry about. At the time, I was facing 5 years in prison for assault causing bodily harm.
What?
That's how the chapter ended.
Who did he assault?
So, his neighbor. He's still living with his mom at this time. Obviously, he's still like 17, 18.
Yeah.
Pause. He had just turned 18. This is a big important part is that he had just turned 18. His neighbor chased their dog with a rake.
Kill him.
And so he told him, he told him if he ever laid a hand on his dog that he would fry their cat.
Ouch.
Coincidentally, the next day the cat was hiding under their porch. And it was an outdoor cat.
Is this a trigger warning?
No.
Okay.
So the neighbor's son actually blamed him for it. And they were like, you had something to do with it. You hurt our
cat. The cat disappearing?
Well, the cat was under the porch. It just like wouldn't come out. And I think it had a broken leg. The cat was ultimately fine.
Okay.
The neighbor's son came over, started screaming in his face, and absolutely clocked him in the face.
Oh.
So in his own property, might I add. So
You're trespassing and you're gonna swing first?
Clint, quote, kicked the living shit out of him.
You know what? Hell yeah.
Then the neighbor's wife came over, the mom, and started yelling at Clint's mom, who was also outside, grabbed Clint's mom's hair and pulled her down to the ground.
Nope.
So Clint grabbed her and told her to get out of there.
Yeah.
He goes, I guess I kind of dislocated her shoulder in the process.
Things happen.
So then the son-in-law is arriving as all of this is going down. He comes over, starts hitting Clint. Clint actually knocked him out.
Yeah.
And he goes, so I got charged with 3 counts of assault causing bodily harm. He had just turned 18.
They all swung first. They all instigated.
Yeah.
Who is this? The Capitals refs? Oh, you don't see it? Tom Wilson did it. We don't see it. We're blind.
Oh, now you don't speak English.
Oh, I know you tried to rip the bubble off of that guy's face, but we didn't see that.
Yeah.
Some bullshit. Whatever.
So his brother, who was a cop at the time, actually set him up with a good defense lawyer.
Good.
The judge deemed it all self-defense.
It was.
So he was fine.
And
it was self-defense. And as a matter of fact, if you injured one of my pets,
you want
would
to
do
run
far
up
worse.
on my property and try and hit, number one, you're going to try and run up on my pets who are angels.
Yeah.
Then you're going to try and run up on me and my sister. Girl,
No.
I'll catch a charge any day.
I will catch a charge, and I'll do my time, and it would have been worth it.
I'll hire a defense. I'll call Caitlin.
Yeah.
I'll call
We know
Caitlin.
some lawyers. So
Hey, girl.
at the end of that chapter, he actually gets drafted by the Quebec Nordics,
Oh,
which is now the
cute.
Colorado Avalanche.
Yes.
So that was in 1981 that he was drafted.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then we have chapter 10. Some time has passed. First wife alert. So he also says he's had a few wives.
Had he really?
Yeah.
Did he Henry VIII it?
I've said 7 wives of Evelyn Hugo. What is it?
Evelyn Hugo?
Yeah.
The 7 husbands of Evelyn Hugo? I mean,
I did write 7 husbands, but wives came out of my mouth just now.
I mean, she was like a closeted lesbian because she was an old Hollywood star, so you're not wrong.
Yeah.
Spoilers if you haven't read that book that's been out for years. It's a
Yeah.
masterpiece.
I haven't read it, but I still knew that. So yeah.
It's so cute.
He says, I seem to fall in love with every girl that paid attention to me.
Babe, that's because you didn't get enough love at home.
Yeah. 6 months.
But also, where's
Yeah.
your loyalty?
Well, he was loyal to all of them.
Okay, never mind then.
Yeah. He never cheated.
Okay, thank
Even
God.
with one of his wives, it was doomed, like, pretty much from the get-go. And he talks about, like, the whole time. It's this one, actually.
Okay. Tell
Spoiler.
me.
But
First wife
he
alert.
never cheats on her.
Okay.
And I would even say there's a respectable amount of time in between marriages.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a slay. That's actually the bare minimum. Not cheating.
What's the total wife count?
4.
Shit.
Yeah.
I'm behind.
But his last one is so sweet. And honestly, all of them seemed okay. So they started dating. 6 months after they started dating, he was actually going to break up with her.
Oh.
And then she told him that she was pregnant.
Dang it.
So they got married, or he proposed.
That's
they were
so
going to
of the
get married.
time.
Everybody was like, do not get married. This is a bit too convenient.
Yeah.
Don't do it. You were literally about to break up with her. Nobody
But
was.
he came from a broken home, so he's
Yeah.
not about to be like.
And he says it was the gentleman thing to do, so that's what I did. And they got married. Their wedding, man.
Dude, I wish a hot man would take pity on me and marry me.
It's really crazy that no one showed up at our front door yet.
Ugh.
There's still
Amazon
time.
Prime, where are you?
At this wedding, so they got married.
Yes.
On the way to the church, his brother's trying to talk him out of it.
He's such a real one.
He goes through with it. Yeah, he goes through with it anyways. They get married. The reception, his brother and none of the groomsmen are there to be found.
Oh.
They can't find him anywhere. He's calling all these bars.
Yeah.
And every bar's like, oh, they just left. Oh, they just left.
They're bar hopping
they're-
at the wedding reception?
Yeah. So they show up
Oh, my
hours late.
To the wedding or to
To
the
the
reception?
To the reception. They show up hours late, drunk. He and his brother get into an argument that escalates to a fist fight. Brothers. 20 minutes later, they're literally drinking whiskey and ready to party. And the wife's family's like, what?
What the hell?
Because that's us. It's crazy. The
Oof.
baby is born. They name her Kelly.
After his best friend?
Kelli. Yes, after his best friend. The
You're
wife
telling
wasn't
me-
super happy about it.
I don't.
She's got 2 middle names. It's both of their mothers' names,
That's cute.
which is really sweet.
She didn't want to do a Stephanie Myers and just combine the 2 moms' name to be the dumbest name in history. That's crazy.
Crazy.
Also, it's crazy that Connor Garland is trying to convince us he didn't name his kid Quentin after Quint Hughes,
Quentin Hughes.
who is his literal best friend
That is-
and godfather to the child. That's fine,
Yeah.
though. You know what?
Delusion.
I'm a Alec, I believe you.
Denial is a
coincidence.
river in Egypt.
It is a coincidence.
He was playing in the AHL. He played he got called up for 2 games to the NHL. Was mediocre. Got sent back down to the AHL, but he was doing really well in the AHL. So it's kind of funny. He's so silly. Like, trauma just makes people so funny to me. He has had his nose broken a lot at this point. He plays hockey, and this was, oh, hi, kitten
Bubsies.
alert. He had his nose broken. He got reconstructive surgery on his nose, actually.
Cute.
Because he couldn't really breathe out of it. He then is at a bar and gets clocked in the face in a bar.
How?
And it breaks his nose. Something escalated, and they were like, oh, you fight. Yeah. He goes, that pissed me off. I had just gotten it fixed, and it looked kind of pretty. So then he's like, I'll just never bother to get my nose fixed again. Whatever.
Oh.
This chapter 2 talked a lot about his anxiety.
Let's dive into it.
And about how he was doing well in hockey, but he was still, like, super crippled with anxiety. And it was all he could think about outside of the ice. And so he's like, oh, it can't have anything to do with hockey. So he's contributing it to what he says is the second most important thing to him, which just happens to be his wife and child.
Yeah.
Mainly his wife. And he goes, that's a common theme in my marriages, which it is. Spoiler alert. He
blames his anxiety on the woman and the child.
On the woman, at least. He, even at the end of the book, he talks about how he just had this, like, hate, or not hatred, but aggression towards women that didn't have any reason.
He probably inherited it.
Yeah, I think he inherited it. And how he was so frustrated because he was like, why do I feel this way? They've literally done nothing.
Yeah, that's so frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's chapter 10. Chapter 11, he is now fully in the NHL.
Period.
And he's very Jeremy Swayman. He is not afraid to fight. The theme of this chapter is fighting.
Fighting.
We kind of relive some of his greatest fights.
Love it. Let's go into the highlights.
Number 1 being in the 1984 playoff series versus Montreal. It's the second round.
Not my Habs.
It's the second. I know.
What team does he play for?
He plays for the Quebec Nordics.
Still? Okay.
So a big rival of Montreal.
Makes sense.
Yes. I remember reading about this when we talked about Montreal, but I looked back in our notes. We did not talk about it. The Good Friday Massacre.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Because it happened the week of Good Friday. It was a bench clearing brawl in the second period.
Love to see it. We really do.
Yes.
Except I actually hated to see it with the Canes and the Capitals, so maybe I don't love to see it.
Actually, yeah, you're right. I actually don't love to see it.
I didn't care about the teams.
Yeah. Anyways, it happened like right at the end of the second period. Bench clearing brawl. They left for the intermission. They came back before the puck even dropped for the third period. They were fighting again.
Yes.
Half of each team was kicked out of the game, so then they were just doing their best to try to win it. There's one instance that he really points out that I also wanted to talk about. Louis Slayer and Jean Hamel.
Slayer is such an intimidating last name.
Yeah. So Slayer actually punched Hamel over a linesman.
Okay.
Knocking him out.
Oh.
This is what I wanted to point out.
He was packing some heat.
Yeah, he was a Slayer, for sure.
I don't think that's the correct way to use that phrase.
I don't think it is either, but we're going to go with it. This is what I wanted to point out. He goes, he laid there for quite a while, and then they just dragged him off the ice. I guess they didn't have stretchers back then.
This is like the 80s, right?
Yeah, 84.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
We definitely had stretchers.
That actually ended Jean Hamel's career because it broke his orbital bone.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that was the end of his career.
How was that the end of his career?
He just didn't go back after that
Fair
injury.
enough. I'd be like, it's a sign.
You know what?
It's time for me to
That's actually
leave.
enough for me.
You know what? I'm good.
Yeah. He also played a game called the Rendezvous 87.
Love.
So the NHL actually put this on instead of an all-star game. It was the NHL All-Stars versus the Soviet Union national team.
They did this in the 80s?
87. He talks about the team he got to play on. First of all, a bunch of NHL fans accused Quebec fans of stuffing the ballot because he was voted to play on this team. And he said, I don't really care because I was playing there.
I don't really give a shit.
He was playing with Wayne Gretzky.
Oh my God, yes.
Mario Lemieux.
Yes.
Ron Hextall.
Yep.
Grant Fuhr. Mm-hmm. Doug Wilson. Mark Howell, which is Gordie Howe's brother. And Mark Messier. and so many more.
God, that's a stacked team.
I also want to say,
oh my God,
the names dropped in this book is absolutely insane to me. But like, it's not like I
was playing with the great one. It's like, oh, Mia Wade.
That was just a crazy period of time, and like it is insane. It is insane to me.
But you don't realize that you're living in the good days until they're gone.
Yeah. He talks about walking into the trainer's room and seeing Mario Lemieux smoking a cigarette.
Dude.
And going, wow, he's human.
Oh my God.
Which, same. He also is like, that smoking probably didn't last very long because he was so good. And just like how Gretzky and Lemieux both just treated everybody like normal people. There wasn't really an ego around them. They were just like, oh, we're all just here playing.
We're all on the same team.
I was like,
I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed.
Also in this chapter, we get to hear about his first career shutout.
Yay!
Versus Boston.
Fuck them.
You literally.
I'm so glad they got eliminated from the playoffs. That's what you deserve after trading Marchand.
Are they officially eliminated?
They are officially eliminated.
Get wrecked.
Hate it for the fans. Love it for the
I
organization.
mean, I feel like Pasternak's really the only thing that they've got going for them. They also shut out the Canes. So, I don't know.
Jeremy...
I've
got a lot of faith in him.
Yeah. I
think he's getting blamed for a lot of stuff that are not necessarily his fault.
For sure. But that's the thing with goalies is they get blamed.
Yeah.
For so much.
Yeah, they catch all the strays.
They do. So he had a shutout versus Boston, his first career NHL shutout.
Yes.
They played them back to back. His mom actually came out for the second game.
Cutesy.
He had another shutout.
For his mom.
With his mom there. And it was the first time she ever got to see him have a shutout. A different player had actually scored a hat trick that night, but gave him the puck. So cute. I know. Were you?
Do you remember when Svechky's mom came to a game this season and they showed her and she had like
a
big ass beer? She looked like the life of the party.
The was hockey so obsessed with her.
So cute.
Listen, she had a purple fur coat.
Yep.
And a pint of beer.
Yeah. And she was thriving.
And she was sitting next to Orlov's dad.
Yes. Who also had, I can't remember if he was double fisting or if he also just had a gigantic beer.
Also had a giant beer.
Dude, the vibes. The vibes were vibing.
I want to be in the room where it happened.
Like any of the mom's
obsessed
trips,
with her.
I
am obsessed with her. It's official.
I can't see it.
And that's chapter 11.
How many chapters are in this book?
Like 30.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're rocking right
along. The last ones really fly through. There's a lot of story building, which I love.
You're good.
Yeah. Chapter 12, he gets traded to Washington. The Caps.
Pop off.
Yeah, he actually was told. So he talks about he played baseball a lot in the summers. And he was going to play a baseball game with some teammates. And he got there and he was told that he had been traded. They had heard it on the radio.
That's so bitchy.
I said, what, they didn't have phones back then?
That's so
they
bitchy.
Did. Yeah. His first wife was gone.
I just think that's so disrespectful.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, we proceed.
Yeah. The team had called his house, but he wasn't home because he actually called his mom, and his mom was like, "Yeah, you should probably call them."
Mom, what do? I think I got traded.
Mama, because that would actually be
Same.
me.
I call my mom for everything.
Yeah. Well, they live like right there.
I'm like, what do you think I should do? She's like, call the plumber. I'm like, okay,
no.
okay, I'm gonna do that.
What's
what
the
should I say?
number? Can I get a script? I'm just a girl.
Can I practice really quick with you?
Yeah. So him and his first wife are divorced at this point.
Fair enough.
Summers were for the rodeos.
Summers were for the rodeos.
Which
Everyone
is
knows
true.
That.
Now he did have like a part of his contract was he couldn't participate in dangerous activities.
Define dangerous.
I would say getting bucked off a horse is pretty dangerous.
It could happen to anyone. It's happened to me.
He did it anyways. He would do these like ride through shows for all the kids and stuff until one time a photographer was there for the newspaper and it got in there and then the photographer recognized him and so then it was all over.
Oh, what a douche.
And
way to kill the vibe.
And he got
been
a call.
bucked off a horse?
I've never been bucked off a horse.
Have you ever been bucked?
Yes.
Had a horse buck? Yeah.
Terrifying.
It was not my favorite. It was 0 out of 10. It's like, Dolly, I get it. Like, you need a break. That's fine.
Yeah.
Can you just let me live, please?
Can I get off
Mel,
first?
if you stop bucking, I'll simply leave you alone.
Yeah. So he got caught. His general manager called him and was like, you can't do that.
Oh, what a buzzkill.
He did do it anyways. He was just more discreet about it.
That's very Max Verstappen of him.
Yeah. He's like, I'm actually just a country boy.
He said, I'm an adult. I'm going to do what I want.
There's a picture of him in here. This also has some pictures, which I loved. This one's to be specific.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. I love that he put, like, I landed on my feet.
Facts.
I landed safely.
I landed safely in a crouch.
Period.
Wow.
So that's chapter 12. He's just talking about the summers.
Love it for
Chapter
him.
13, after settling in at Washington, he was actually traded at the deadline to Buffalo.
Go Sabres.
His first game is versus the Rangers.
Fuck the Rangers.
He talks about how aggressive the Rangers fans were at this time, and honestly, they're still really aggressive. Mm-hmm. The majority of them, not all of them.
There's some really good aggressive ones. When we played them yesterday. Go Devils.
Yeah.
Shut out.
Speaking of shutouts, he did shut them out 2-0 in his first game with Buffalo. Yep. He talks about fans throwing batteries at the goalies, which is insane
so mean.
Behavior.
Why?
Yeah. But he was
I can't abide by that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if someone says something really mean, I'm like, okay, they're just here to do a job. Like, let them do their job.
Yeah. Well, also, like, Rangers fans used to rock the buses.
Yeah. Now they just hit the star players' cars on their way out.
The Rangers team does that. Yeah. They said, we don't need our fans to stick up for us.
They said, fuck you and your car.
The new generation. This is the now generation.
Oh, are you having a good time?
He was really good in Buffalo.
Yes, good.
Up until the accident, which is what we get into in chapter 14.
Okay.
It's titled Jugular. Chapter 14 is the scene of the crime.
Oh, God. Are we getting another bevy after this?
Yes, absolutely. He goes, oh my gosh, I forgot. I literally was reading this book. I was like, I gotta go change my laundry. Once I finish chapter 13, I'll go change my laundry. I finished chapter 13. I turned the page and just read the opening line of chapter 14. I said, oh, hell, I'm actually staying here.
That laundry's gonna have to wait.
The first time I should have died was on Wednesday, March 22nd, 1989.
What a line.
I said, well, dang, okay.
All right, tell me about it.
Oh, I even said read the first section.
Okay, do you want me to read the first section aloud?
Yeah. Do you want to read
you
up until this space?
All right, kids, go on a journey with me. Let's find out what happened together in his own words. Clint's version.
Clint's version. It's not funny, though, is it, really?
No, but laughing as a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
The clock crept past the 5-minute mark. It was still the first period, and I hadn't faced many shots yet. We were up 1-0. The puck was on the boards in the corner, and I was on my post. The Blues' Steve Tuttle, a 23-year-old rookie, charged to the net looking for a pass. One of our defensemen, Yuri Krupt, maybe, was right behind him. 4:45. The pass came just above the crease, a backdoor play. I slid across the net. 4:44. Krupp pulled Tuttle down from behind and slid into me, skates first. 4:43. It felt like a kick to the mask. There was no pain, but I pulled my helmet off, and then I saw the blood. Mm-hmm. It spattered red in the face-off circle. A stream gushed out with every beat of my heart. It's an artery. I grabbed my neck, trying to keep the blood in, but it rushed between my fingers. It just kept coming. I slumped forward, and it glugged out like a water fountain. Everything was a blur. I didn't see the white faces in the crowd. I didn't see fans pass out or any of the players vomiting on the ice. Mm-hmm. I didn't hear Blues forward Rick Mager, I don't know if I said your name right, sorry, King, turn to the benches and scream for help. All I saw was the blood rushing into a red sea around me. I'm going to die. Terry Gregson, the referee, looked down at me. His eyes were huge. Get a stretcher. He's bleeding to death. Our trainer, Jim, you know who you are, Jim, Paluzzi got to me first. He had gauze from the medical kit. He pushed it against my throat, holding me so tight I could barely breathe. The crease was covered in blood. I coughed out, "Jim, it's my jugular." He was so calm. "Just do what I say." Years earlier, Jim had been a combat engineer in the Vietnam War. His second week in, he was walking through a village when a truck collided with him and 4 other soldiers. Mm-hmm. The impact broke his ribs. It tossed another soldier into a gully where he was decapitated by sheet metal hut. Yeah. Jim was medevaced out with the young man's body and head beside him. He studied sports medicine after the war. Now here he was, squeezing his arm around my neck. "We're going to save you." "Jim, I can't breathe." "Cooper, things are happening.
Things are happening.
Lovey."
We're at war.
He flexed his grip. "You're not going to breathe until we get you to a doctor." He helped me to my skates, and we made it through the doors behind my net. I was scared as hell. I had no idea how much blood I had already lost. I had seen a television show that said a severed jugular would bleed out in minutes. I'm going to die. My mother was at home in Calgary, shout out Tate McRae, watching the game on satellite. I couldn't let her see this happen. Not on the ice, not on TV, not like this. They put me on the table in the trainer's room. Rip Samiuk, our equipment manager, stood over me and held my arm. I asked him to call my mom. When I first started playing for the Sabres, I saw a chaplain hanging around the arena. I asked Rip to call for him, figuring God might be my only hope to live. But at the one game I really needed him, the chaplain wasn't there. Mm-hmm. One of the team's doctors took a towel and pressed it down on my throat with all his weight. He'd let up so I could breathe, and the blood would spurt out, and he'd press back down. I still didn't have a sense of time. There was mass confusion. Lots of nurses and doctors came down from the stands wanting to help Slay. Security had to clear everyone out. Jim started cutting off my pads and chest protector. Rip was holding my hand as he dialed my mother's number. I didn't want to pass out. If I close my eyes, I won't wake up. The ambulance seemed to take forever, but it was probably only 10 minutes. When it finally arrived, they got me on a stretcher and put an IV in my arm. I tried to make a joke. "Put a couple stitches in me and let me get back out there." Blood gurgled out as I said it. No one laughed. They were white as ghosts, and I figured it was the end. Rip said, "I talked to your mom. She said she loves you." Our team doctor climbed into the ambulance with the paramedics and pushed down on my throat the whole ride to Buffalo General. They wheeled me through the emergency room doors. I was still wearing my hockey pants and long johns. They cut the gear off me. They told me I was going to be okay, and I wanted to believe them. I tried to. They put a needle in my arm, and I watched their frantic faces drift away. Well, shit, I'm sweating.
I know. Yeah. So
Something I can't get out.
In reality, his mom was calling his brother and saying, like, he's bleeding, like, what's going on? And his brother said, yeah.
Is that grotesque? It is grotesque
they have,
of me, but still.
Girl, you can find videos of it on the internet.
I don't want to see that.
I don't either.
I saw the one a couple years ago of someone that happening to them, and it was
he died.
Horrific.
Yeah.
Wear a neck guard, please.
His mom called Garth, and Garth was like, "Oh, he probably just broke his nose."
Nope.
So, like, his mom wasn't even aware. She later did obviously find out, but when they were like, "Yeah, we called your mom. She said she loved you." Her mom had no idea. His mom had no idea.
That's so sweet. They definitely thought he was going to die.
Oh, for sure. He thought he was going to die. It was
a couple
insane.
stitches in me and let me get back out there. Bro, shut up.
Yeah. One of his best friends on the team, Grant, actually had like a full mental breakdown in the locker room after seeing that happen. Let me show you these pictures real quick.
How does one simply continue to hockey after that?
Dude. At the top. It's like a vague picture, but...
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Because they started like fighting.
The blood spurting.
They started fighting behind the net, and then some of the players realized what was happening. Was like, oh my gosh, wait, this is not the most important thing going on right now.
Did they wear helmets at that time?
Yes. The white helmets.
The goalies.
He took his helmet off because he felt something, so he took his helmet off, and that's when that happened.
I've got to
yeah.
Can we take a break?
Yeah, let's take a little break.
We're gonna take a break.
Hey guys, it's Editing Abby here. This ended up being a 2-hour long discussion. Worse than that, I think it was actually 2.5 hours long, but instead we're going to edit it down to 2-hour long episodes for you, just to make it easier to consume. So this was the end of part 1, and in part 2, we really get into the PTSD, the trauma, how he overcame being an alcoholic, and all of the effects of this accident on him, as well as the people that he loves the most. I can't wait to hear your comments and how you feel about it. So feel free to comment. Please let us know. And part 2 should be out tomorrow. Give it a listen. Yay!